Welcome, everyone. This is Scale Egenkapital webinar about AI. I'm very pleased to have you all here tonight. Thanks for joining us. The webinar is the number 4. But before we really start, I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to Scale Egenkapital if you missed the previous webinars. Just to talk a little bit about us. We are Scale Egenkapital. We operate as a consultancy company, and we are based in Denmark, although we have branches in all across Europe, actually, and in Southeast Asia as well. So what we do? Well, to put it in a straight way, the bottom line is we are very happy to support and work with our clients to improve their profits, to increase their revenue, to help them to increase their market share, or to become investable, or to have a higher company equity, or the above, probably. And of course, we use state-of-the-art in strategic marketing, in business planning, and also in financial assessments as well. We are very much human-centric, and we mean it. We enjoy going hand in hand with our clients. We don't use any middleman. We are exactly in straight contact with all our clients, and our clients reach out to all our senior managers all the time. All right. This picture is from Aalborg, by the way. Good overview. So let's talk a little bit about our webinar series. This one specifically belongs to the AI series. We had the webinar number 1, Challenges and Advantages of AI. I hope you joined us at that time. If you didn't, don't worry. Just email us and we can send you the link for the video recording. I would strongly recommend. So after the first one, we had the second in December about the challenges integrating AI into business strategy. And the following one was mid-December. And this was very hot because it discussed applications and case studies, real studies on AI being applied into business and how that brought real and positive impact to their businesses. So I strongly recommend you all to check them out. And today we have the webinar number 4, and we are going to wrap up looking to the essential, the key steps for digital transformation, in this case, using this amazing tool or toolbox we call generically as AI. We're going to have a talk number 8 for the Technology members. If you're not a member, I would very much like to invite you to become a member to the Technology. I'll explain later about it. But this talk is very limited. We try to keep it not more than 20 people in the talk because microphone and videos are open. So it's very, very high dynamically rich and open to discussion. So I would suggest you to keep an eye if you wanted to join and book your seat as fast as possible. All right, tonight we have the team all available for you here to support the webinar. If you had any questions, we had the chat box up here. Don't be shy. Place your questions there, and we'll be following up the questions tonight. I'm afraid we are not going to have a question and answers. We will have even better. We will open the last half hour of the webinar for an open talk. So I hope you can nevertheless place your questions there and also share your thoughts and views of AI later on when we open for the audience to participate. Okay, so tonight our speaker is Morgan Morgan, if you want to go to the next slide. Morgan has more than 30 years of experience in telecom, and he's been supporting CXOs in digital transformation, business transformation, and he has deep and wide experience in AI, and specifically in Gen AI and LLM, particularly applied into innovation and industrial transformation. So, Morgan, I hand this over to you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Marcelo, for that great introduction there. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is the essentials, so the key steps for digital transformation. So just over the webinar series, as Marcelo outlined, we started off in the webinar number 1. We outlined the first one, really the first essential step, which is what is the value of smart KPIs. And we did a top-down approach where we started with what are the business objectives across decision making, operations, and customer experience, and what are the performance measurements, the KPIs, and then in particular, what are the smart KPIs, okay? And then in webinar number 2, we had the second essential step was that it requires a continuous transformation of the organization, talent, and culture, and we outlined the governance model that sits over AI models, okay? And then, like today, the fourth essential step is what I call the secure the digital ecosystem, okay? So in the last webinar, webinar number 3, we showed case studies about how you start from zero, build your first AI model, and how you scale it. And then once you basically do that, then you need to be cognizant of basically how to secure your digital ecosystem, your AI models. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then overall, as you can see here, it's really a digital transformation from the first webinar step to step number 4, and we iterate continuously. It's a continuous process, and we outlined in the second webinar the whole AI and machine learning operations lifecycle model, which is the continuous deployment, continuous testing, and continuous delivery, and that's a kind of a continuous cycle as well. So that's what we're kind of saying here with digital transformation. So let's recap webinar number 1, as I was saying. So we outlined in our webinar number 1 the AI vision of the C-level. What are the objectives that we're trying to do? Is it to increase revenue? Is it to reduce costs? Or is it to boost customer engagement? Is it to improve brand empowerment or equity? And what are the smart KPIs? So we started off, what are the traditional KPIs? What are the challenges? And how do we overcome those challenges, which is to introduce AI adoption towards what we call smart KPIs to meet our goal. Okay, so that's what webinar 1 was about. And webinar number 2 is, okay, we had 4 pillars in AI business strategy. So what that was about is come up with a framework of how to formulate your strategy. Okay, we talked about what the objectives are. Okay, all right. And then in the long term, when you have your first AI model, you scale it to end models, like what's your value at scale? Your costs coming down, new ways of working, you're managing the impact of business models, monitoring and measuring, and it's continuous innovation, the continuous that I talked about in step 5 earlier for digital transformation. But how to get there and the strategy execution is when you start from zero to get to your first AI use case or model, how do you prioritize the use case, the business impact, and the feasibility? What platform architecture, skills, culture, organization changes are required. Okay, so we outlined that webinar number 2 and number 3, and later I'll share a link to the YouTube videos if you haven't seen those webinars or you want to do a recap. Okay, and then once you start adopting AI, what are the risks? So we talked about in the earlier webinars, in webinar 2 particularly, and in webinar 3 is responsible AI, and we'll talk about that again today. Okay, so how do you assess and mitigate risks, the governance model, distrust, explainable AI, and data quality and availability. And down here you see a reference to a white paper that I did last year that outlines what are the short, medium, long-term trends of generative AI. So that complements this work as well. So later on, I'll show you a reference slide of all the references used to back up this work. And then in webinar number 3, what we did is, okay, when you're starting off with 0 and you want to build your first use case, we talk about the business feasibility of that, okay, and talk about the platform, but then essentially broke it down into 2 scenarios. The first scenario we showed you the classic AI machine learning of the use case with Tokopedia, who is an e-commerce company. And what they wanted to do is basically boost their net promoter score, the customer experience. And they had 2 inputs. The first input was internally to the organization, which was operational drivers. And then they had the other input was external to the company, and contextual factor, right? The location number, the searches, the demand. And the issue here was basically the matching of buyers and sellers on our marketplace wasn't optimized. So there was poor customer satisfaction and low network promoter score. So by doing this work and basically working on what is the weighting of the correlation between these 2 inputs, we drove strategic outcomes of value. And what we found, and London School of Business find this as well, that a boost of net promoter score, which is net promoter score is a difference of promoters minus detractors. So what you're trying to do is detect the number of detractors and try to convert them to become promoters. And by doing that, you boost your net promoter score. And a net promoter score increase of +7% is highly correlated to business value, strategic outcomes. And C-level folks will know that remuneration of C-level people is very much tied into net promoter score. So this is a key metric of the CEO, for example. And then customer satisfaction is more as a KPI of operations folks, right? So all at the C level. So this is very sensitive at the C level. And then on the other use case that we showed was with Gen AI on the right. So what we did is we introduced the idea of imaginary brainstorming session using ChatGPT and 5 expert moderators. And the 5 experts were virtual moderators, AI agents, okay? And we explained how ChatGPT was trained and to do this, because these 5 experts had their own books. Okay, there was Dave Ogilvy, was the advertising and marketing confessions of an advertising man, and there was Mary Kay, and there was Mary Wells Lawrence, for example, had her book, and Kai-Fu Lee. AI superpowers. I mean, the DeepSeek that was just announced 2 days ago. I mean, this Kai-Fu Lee talked all about that in his book, and then of course OpenAI with Sam Altman. Okay, so this is very newsworthy today because of DeepSeek and OpenAI and so forth. So what we showed was a demo of basically how you could come up with the customer lifetime value, key insights and recommendations so that they build that KPI, and then how effectively that ties in with classical AI machine learning. So that's what we did in webinar number 3. Okay, and today, so just before I move on to what we're going to do today, so just to recap, so the first one was lead with value, smart KPIs. So we discussed that in webinar 1 and webinar 3. Okay, and what you're doing there is transform from siloed Gen AI use cases to deploy Gen AI use cases that redesign business capabilities right across the value chain to impact the overall business objectives and the key business stakeholders. And the next one was transform the organization, talent, and culture. And now we were talking about that in webinar number 2, okay? And we talked about Gen AI advisory boards for business and technology strategies, ethics AI board to meet compliance internally and externally, and transforming job roles, empowering and retraining existing employees, and how to promote diversity and how to attract new employees to fill the gaps. So, and then as we mentioned, I mean, if these are issues close to your heart, please reach out to Marcelo or Helene here, and we can do a follow-up one-on-one consultation. Okay, so the next one is the governance, responsible AI, and we talked about that a lot in webinar number 2. External factors beyond a company's control, typically measured or tracked to consumer spending forecast, intercounty freight, or government regulation. Okay, so external factors there, as we showed in previous slide for the Tokopedia use case, was a key factor on boosting the market matching of sellers to buyers to boost customer experience for Net Promoter Score, for example. And the next one, the key is develop AI-enabled secure digital ecosystem. So we're going to discuss that today in webinar 4. Seamless connectivity of data right across your organization. So structured and unstructured data for Gen AI, classical machine learning, and secure by design. So you've built your models. Now you have to ensure that your organization has best practices for a secure ecosystem. And then essential step number 5 is what I call continuous digital transformation. And that really is the wrapper for all the webinars, okay? So the only constant is change. Develop capabilities to gain feedback and refine and tune iteratively in a closed loop fashion. New capabilities mean new processes, and thus the organization too has to transform, okay? So what we're going to talk about in the remainder of the slides today is step number 4 here, and then that should wrap up across all the webinar series. And then, as I said, it is a continuous cycle. Okay, so so moving on to data and privacy and security. Okay, so the first step is that these are foundation pillars when building an AI-enabled secure digital ecosystem. Okay, so AI systems thrive in large data sets, making protection and ethical handling of this data critical for trust, compliance, and operational success. So this presentation will explore the key considerations and strategies for maintaining data privacy and security in an AI-driven environment, ensuring a robust and trustworthy digital ecosystem. So starting off with data, so data protection measures. Okay, so you have your data, and the first thing is encryption, using strong encryption protocols, okay, to protect data both at rest. So that's data, and when we say at rest, we say in your database, and in transit, when you're moving data out of your database and you're going to process the data both internally and externally. So maybe you're basically using APIs to send the data internally or externally. So how do you implement end-to-end encryption for sensitive communications? Okay. And the next one is anonymization and pseudonymization. So strip identifiable information from data sets to protect individual privacy while enabling analysis. Use techniques like differential privacy to add noise and protect individual data points. And data masking is another way of doing it. So apply masking techniques to hide sensitive information in non-production environments or during testing. Okay. With regards to security, okay, access control and authentication. Okay, first of all, identify using role-based access control, grant data access based on your user roles and responsibilities, ensuring only authorized personnel can access sensitive data. So multi-factor authentication, add a layer of security user logins requiring multiple forms of verification, password and biometrics. So here you see the biometric and the password, okay? to protect access control of the data. Okay. And zero trust model, assume no user or device is inherently trustworthy, continuously verify users and monitor their actions. Okay. So data governance and compliance. So the key thing to remember here, and we discussed this a lot in webinar number 2, is regulatory compliance. So if you're in Europe, you comply with the GDPR regulations in the EU. In California, they have their regulations, and if you're doing it for healthcare, you have regulations there. The key point here with GDPR, as we said before, is that you have to recognize if you're building an AI system, what type of AI system it is, and whether you're going to impact users and impact their rights. Okay, and then you have to declare to the EU body, I mean, are these EU systems, what type of AI model they are, okay? So we went through that a lot in webinar number 2, like how do you classify your AI model and what steps you need to do for your to get your AI model to be able to deploy it in the EU, okay? And data sovereignty, ensure data storage complies with regional laws regarding where data can be stored or processed. So the other thing, so this is the EU AI Act, but with GDPR, okay, you have the data, okay, and then you have to basically address like who's going to process the data, okay, and who's going to mine the data, okay. Are they the same company? Are they different companies? And who's responsible? So that's key, okay. So who's the data processor, and who's going to and who's the person that's going to overall own the data, and who's going to basically, if you're getting consumer data, who's going to ask for the consumer's consent to use the data, what type of data it is, how is it going to be managed and stored. So all that has to be factored in, okay? And how long you have the data for, and is it quickly going to be destroyed when you come to the end of using that data. So for all that, right, you need to have audit trails. So maintain detailed logs of data access. Okay, we talked in the previous slide of role-based access, right? Who can access the data internally and externally, changes and usage for accountability for forensic analysis. Because you have to have audit trails, because if per regulations, if there's some incident with data being lost, or there has been a breach of your security, then there has to be an audit trail for regulation purposes. Okay, so data minimization, okay, purpose limitation, okay, collect only data necessary for AI system specific purpose, avoid storing unnecessary data or redundant information. So again, with GDPR, you have to get users' consent. If it's consumers' data, they have to be able to opt in or opt out. And you have to explain to the person that your data, what are you using it for, how long are you using it for, and avoid unnecessary redundant information. All right. And then the second one is retention policies. Define and enforce strict data retention policies to delete outdated or irrelevant data. So so this is a key one. Okay, so once you finish the usage of the data, you must destroy the data when it's no longer being used, or if somebody requests externally that they need a copy of their data, or they want to remove the data from your system, you have to be able to do that as well. Okay, so secure data sharing. All right, secure APIs. So as well, internal and external with APIs, use well-designed APIs for control data sharing between systems, implement strong API security measures like token-based authentication and rate limiting. So these are key, and there's key methods to secure data, either that's in rest or is in transit internally and externally. Okay. And federated learning. Okay, so instead of sharing raw data, use techniques like federated learning, where AI models are trained locally on distributed data without transferring it to a central server. So what we're saying here is that, again, it's roles based. So if there's only a certain amount of people that need to access the data, maybe it be stored locally. It doesn't need to be stored centrally, where a lot of other people might be able to access it. So again, this is another security measure, okay? And the more of these techniques you can do, the more secure by design. Now, there's no system that's 100%, but by doing a lot of these measures, you get close enough to over 99%, okay? AI model security, okay, training data integrity, validate authenticity and accuracy of training data sets, okay? Model privacy techniques, homomorphic encryption or secure multi-party computation, okay? And data poisoning protection, monitor and prevent attacks that inject harmful data, okay? So these are kind of methods really to test how robust your system is, okay? And you can actually build AI models for this as well, AI model security to monitor your internal systems and role play. And these measures ensure the security and reliability of AI models throughout their life cycle from training to deployment. So when we talk about governance models overlooking AI model development and deployment, this is probably part of the governance model where you would want to factor in AI model security by testing how robust your systems are detecting if there's any breaches. Just like you'd have a fire drill, you probably want a security drill, AI security drill, to happen once in a while as well, and to use these techniques to check how robust your system is. Okay, so real-time threat detection, okay, this is what I'm talking about, like a fire drill for security, where you have AI-driven monitoring. Deploy AI to continuously monitor network traffic, user behavior, and system logs for anomalies that might indicate data breaches or cyber attacks. Incident response, develop and regularly test incident response plans to handle data breaches swiftly and minimize the impact, okay? And in a previous webinar, we talked about responsible AI, and we talked about responsible AI from the viewpoint of the operating engineer, right? The operating engineer needs to check that it's fair, they can trust it, using reinforced learning to build trust, sustainable, transparent, that's transparent and explainable to the engineer, so the engineer understands stepping out what's going on and so forth. Now we take that and develop it, building users' trust, users' data. Now, the user might be internally or externally to the organization, right? So if it's external to the organization, we're talking about maybe a consumer, and you're basically taking their data and using it internally for your systems, okay? Or maybe some other customers' data, okay? So you need to inform those users about their data collection and usage as part of transparency and explainability. And this ties into GDPR as well, right? You have to do this as part of regulations, and it's best practice to do it as well, right? And I showed earlier how the techniques for doing that. And the other one then is to gain trust, okay? So users' data enable informed consent and easy withdrawal, okay? So you need to develop those systems where you can basically take people's data, but if people request their data, you need to supply a copy of what data, how you're processing, how you're taking the data and processing it and controlling it, and for easy withdrawal of your systems as well, and allow secure data download and transfer if that's requested by the user, okay? Okay, so emerging technologies with regard to data and security in AI models, right? So we have here the blockchain and the infrastructure for Bitcoin, for example, but what I'm focusing on here is the blockchain, which is called a distributed ledger, okay, system, right? And why we're using the blockchain is for data integrity. And you can use this, as I said earlier, for an audit trail. We can use blockchain technology to create immutable audit trails and ensure the integrity of sensitive data, okay? And the other one then is quantum computing is coming up, right? And post-quantum cryptography. Okay, so start adopting cryptographic techniques that can withstand quantum computing threats to future-proof data security. All right. Okay, so that's the idea there. Basically, how do you make your systems so they're not going to be vulnerable to attacks? Okay. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our webinar series. Okay, so just some references here to complement the work. Okay, this is the white paper I did last year. Other references there for MIT and Gartner and Quantitative. Okay, and the EU AI Act references are given here. Okay, that we referred to back in webinar 2, and we talked briefly at this webinar. And on the right-hand side here, you have a QR code you can scan, and you can scan to get, if you want to go back and look at webinars 1, 2, and 3 that are hosted on YouTube, for example. And today's webinar number 4 will also is being recorded and will be up on the YouTube very soon as well for you to go back and have a look at. Okay. And now I will introduce back Marcelo to talk more
Morgan.
about our AI pain points.
Lovely. Thank you. Great presentation, Morgan. Very good. Thanks. Quite
Thanks,
insightful.
Marcelo.
Yeah. So we prepared this slide, Morgan, myself, and the team, to just put in place some key pain points that actually quite a lot of our clients have experienced. There are more, but I think these are the critical ones. And I also wanted to show how Skale Egenkapital team has been addressed these pain points. So for instance, we have the lack of clarity on AI and how it fits into your business strategy. That's a critical one. And what we do, we really help to identify the opportunities out there and inside your company, and which AI tools would be really useful and how to approach them. And eventually, what are exactly the KPIs that are perfectly aligned with the business strategy of your company. So the next pain point, for instance, another very important one is the uncertainty about the return of investment into adopting AI or implementing AI into your company. That's another point we also support with clear guidance and not only the finance aspect of it, but we also support and how to measure the outcomes, quantitative, not only qualitative, of the AI adoption in your company and in your strategy. All right, the next pain point is limited internal expertise to deploy AI effectively, and I suspect that this is never going to improve because the technology is keeping moving and faster. So what we do is to empower your company's teams to improve their own knowledge on AI and how to constantly adapt and perfectly adopt the AI tools in an innovation approach if needed. Another pain point that we noticed is the concerns about security, ethics, and compliance. Seriously important. It needs to be addressed from day one. And what we do in our programs, we really mitigate the risks, assessing how the AI should be integrated with the ethical and compliance regulations underlying them. All right, another pain point we notice is the difficulty of scaling AI across the companies and departments, and how we address that. We provide the assessment. We help the AI team, if you didn't have one, to set shared KPIs, which is strategic for working and making this distinct departments to collaborate towards a common objective through the AI adoption implementation across the companies. We support them to design and to implement it in a more efficient way. And I wanted to use this slide now that we placed a few main points to open the stage for all of us here in the audience. So I wanted to invite you to, if you want, to, in a very comfortable way, to also bring your ideas or questions or feelings about AI. And if you had a chance to start working with it before, if you wanted to share anything, please no trade secrets, because this session is open. But if you wanted to share your own pain point, or tell us how the AI is helping or perhaps making you feel concerned about it, this is a moment we wanted to use this time to open to everyone. I invite you to open the video camera and the microphone if you wish, or just type questions in the chat box and we will address them as usual in all webinars. So this is a wrap-up webinar, and we wanted to use this time to make it a bit more interactive and also rich in sharing our own experience. Well, all right. Perhaps I should start. I can see Yuan here. Thanks for joining in, and Merv's also here. Giorgio, Eleni also here. So perhaps I could start with my own. One point I wanted to perhaps share was my feeling about how AI is today and how I started myself learning about what is artificial intelligence, what was artificial intelligence. It might be funny because for you, I need to confess that actually I have 25 years old. And my trade secret is that in the morning I paint my hair gray and my beard gray, so to give this experienced looking. But jokes aside, the first time I got in contact with AI was long ago. I was doing my master in robotics in 1992, and in prehistorical times, because I remember the first internet.com commercial .com site, I think came out in 1992 or 1993. So it's exactly in that juncture in time when the internet was coming out of the academic world to become very popular and also available to anyone in any corporation, any business, as we have today. So at that time, I was doing my research in robotics, as I said, and one of my professors came to discuss with me one brand new idea. He was testing on a very interesting algorithm that was having this fancy name called machine learning. And he asked me to invest 1 day of my week per week for a few months to explore this algorithm. And he gave me access to the laboratory with full of computers in Silicon graphic size, very big computers. And I spend my Wednesday usually more than a couple of hours playing with that machine learning, and actually he was using my help to train the machine, and his objective at that time was to make the machine learn as much as possible about medical diagnostics. So that was kind of the machine was asking what is hurting, where is hurting, and I was simulating illness and answering like this person that was having a flu or something like that. And that was quite interesting, but compared to what we have today is Stone Age. Well, fast forward, I remember when I was going through my PhD in again in robotics, but at that time the scope was to put a number of robots to collaborate amongst themselves, And I remember he was absolutely fascinated about this new technologies that we now can see very easily through NVIDIA, as an example, with the graphic processors. And he was really hoping that that would be remarkable because that kind of processing power was driving a new wave of grants to research into AI. And actually, we could see a lot of research in neural networks by the end of the 90s, just because the hardware was able to catch up. So before that, early 90s or even earlier than that, AI was very ups and downs in grants in the academic world. And then if we go fast forward, I just finished my master in strategic marketing, where my thesis was how to properly and better use AI tools into strategic marketing plan for corporations to really improve their customer loyalty and their sales performance. And we could bring hard evidence that if you design and implement carefully AI, certain AI tools that we already have today are already good enough to go across departments and also across um, most of the customer touch points all across the company and all across the every single customer touch point and bring real impact to net promoter score, for instance, and NPS, which is a remarkable KPI, as empirical experiments have been proving that if you improve the NPS X percent, it will improve the company's income and revenue proportionally. So, and that's one evidence that AI can effectively improve the business of these companies. And we discussed this. Morgan brought this point very in a very rich way in many ways throughout these webinars. And I want to invite you guys to share also your experience about how AI came into your life. And Morgan, I'm afraid to ask you, guy, about that because
Yeah.
you're our expert in the subject. Can you share? Would you like to share anything on that? Perhaps Ian, you would like to share also.
Yeah, I can share a couple of different AI journeys. Yeah, I think way back, I think so. I think what's great is that we have the open source tools. And when did a lot of the development with AI was in the open source tools like Python, Scikit-learn, and so forth. And they're great as a start. And remember when we were discussing the use cases in webinar number 3, that people who are starting off from zero and want to build their first AI model, that the open source tools, Scikit-learn and so forth, they're great tools for starting off and building your first AI model. And even the Tokopedia use case there, I mean, like Net Promoter Score is a key metric, and it does impact I suppose let's call it the bottom line, which is the company to make money. I know with Open AI, ChatGPT, and now you have DeepSeek R1 from China, that's really okay. When you really look at it, they're both high performing models, okay, but and they're great tools, but there's a bit too much focus on the tools. I mean, because when you actually go to do real world use cases and you talk to C-level people, they're like the CEO is measured by a couple of KPIs, and one of them is net promoter. The CEO is measured by earnings per share. Is the company making money? And the CEO is measured by net promoter score. Okay. and their remuneration is tied into those two key metrics. Okay, and then the operations guy is measured by customer satisfaction, and that's all at that level they care about, is the business and that, right? And like, so it's great, like, to have OpenAI and all these tools and all that, but where people really struggle is, how is this going to transform my business? Okay, and that's why in this webinar series we kept focusing on top down, right? What are the objectives of the business? Okay, and it's not, it's simply to make if it's simply to boost revenue through net promoter score, that is a key metric, and if you can do that, you can really transform your business. And that's where to focus on, is how to do something like that. And the focus really shouldn't be on like how to go faster with AI tools, or having the latest AI tool or model, or focusing on technology. No, it's focused on the business first, top down, and then basically what are the gaps in my organization that I need to fill to transform. So we went through all this through the 4 webinars, and definitely I still believe that, in today's cycle, we have all these open source tools, and usually we have enough of tools, but it's really where the problem is how can actually companies transform to make more money, to have better customer experience, how to transform customers from being detractors to be promoters of your brand. That can't be underestimated. I mean, you only have to take brands like Coca-Cola, like Apple, and look at their brand and look how strong their brand is, and it is all down to the customer experience, for example. So I'll leave other people jump in with their experiences.
Yeah, welcome for those that just joined us. Good to see you, Marcelo. And hi there. And this is the point in the webinar that we are opening the webinar to all of us to share. If you had any questions, or is experiencing any problem or challenge in applying AI, or looking for AI to be adopted by your company, we are just inviting us all to come out and share here. Of course, no trade secrets, please, because this is very open. But it would be nice to also have your thoughts here, if you want, in a very comfortable way. I had the chance to share mine a bit, and Morgan, our speakers tonight, also shared a few. And Morgan, before we hand to everybody else, I wanted to ask if you think as net promoter scores are indeed the one essential KPI for the company's success. Would you say that one obvious first adoption of AI would be integrating AI into the CRM, customer relationship management?
Yeah, I mean, the first assessment, and we talked about this in webinar number 2, is, first of all, the first point to start is to assess what assets the company currently have, which is, okay, so with the CRM, the customer relationship tool with your customers, yeah, people start from there and say, okay, what do we want to do? Do we want to build more brand loyalty with customers? Net promoter score is a key one for building loyalty, also customer satisfaction. But definitely net promoter score is more emotive, and basically it's really what you're trying to do is, okay, for example, a lot of people do surveys and really collect data from, like, people really respond to surveys when they have an issue, okay? And that's okay, but it only really captures some of your customers or some of the people you interact with. It doesn't capture all the people you interact with. So that's why we talked about kind of customer lifetime value across all the touch points, from when you engage with your customer, when you sell to the customer, and if you sell a service, how the customer perceive your service. So across all touch points, okay, and measuring it across the first interaction to when you actually sell to the customer and then you engage. So it's a continuous cycle. So yeah, CRM is a great snapshot of your customer, but if you want to transform to kind of getting more real-time insights, then definitely adopting AI tools it enables definitely kind of to get more insight on your customers and boosting your customer experience. Yeah.
Very good.
I have a question for you, Morgan. Do you see any future for CRM with the AI coming in?
Yeah, so like I know CRM, like companies like Salesforce and so forth, are definitely using AI agents for so okay, just to recap, right? So if we have a CRM person that's basically recording the interaction with the customers, then before your next customer meeting, the next person meeting the customer mightn't be the same person, right? And before the customer meeting, he wants to gain a kind of a summary of the last customer meeting. So you want to get the idea is you want to kind of build up a personalized experience with the customer. So you read so if you have a lot of customers, all right, a lot of the human interaction, the marketing people wouldn't have that kind of that personal touch on a day-to-day basis because they're dealing with a lot of different customers. So in preparation for a customer meeting, definitely AI and an AI co-pilot or agent helping to summarize the last customer meeting. What were the top issues? What's the customer's pain points? What that need to be addressed for the first customer meeting? So summarize helping to summarize the meeting to help the marketing department for that meeting. Definitely that's where the role is for AI adoption with CRM systems. Yeah.
Johan, if I may ask, are you asking about the CRM systems losing space to AI-based ones? Is also your question like that?
Yeah, that was the question. Yeah, so the evolution, not losing, let's call it like that, like migrating into that space, because once you have raw data on customers as well as the raw data on the customer's activity. Let's say I looked on, I've seen, I didn't meet yet Marcello Khalil, but all the other guys I've seen, you guys are telco guys, Huawei, like me, and probably you know telco very well. So in the sense of CRM for telco, more CSPs, that in my opinion that will be an evolution for the CRMs as not replacing, but having similar functions combined with probably a little bit more intelligence than they have today, because the CRM today it's not directly related to, let's say, all the events that the mobile operator will have in the network. So with the data lake ingesting data from the different type of sources, the different type of data, probably the opinion, the profile of the customer will be fed with all these events that we know are happening in every CSP.
Yeah, I think you're right. If I may share, Johan, I cannot mention to you the company case because it's one of our clients. But what I can share is that this case is specifically related to churn, customer churn. So of course, they have a very best-selling CRM system already implanted, but the project was to investigate how AI could improve in what touch points it could improve. So the first thing we did in this assessment was to pattern recognition. So we had access to the CRM. The CRM today, the tools are using like ChatGPT for people to better write emails or eventually tailor the message for trying to detect when the customer is more willing to buy or to infer the customer sentiment towards the company. That's what I could see on this very popular CRM tools out there. But in this case particularly, I want to share with you was specifically on related to telecoms, but it's churn. And the first thing we've done over there was to use AI to assess the databases and try to recognize pattern and to detect and to prevent the customer churn. In this case, the customer was a B2B, not a B2C, not a subscriber in a normal sense that buy a mobile phone subscription. But that case was a business buying hundreds or thousands of subscriptions or mobile phone subscriptions or SIM cards. And the first thing we've done was to use AI, generative AI, off-the-shelf commercial AI to access the databases and try to figure out the patterns. And it was remarkable. I can assure that. But the key point today, my personal professional opinion about the generative AI tools we have today, they are good and are quite impressive if you compare to 1 or 10 years ago. But it's all about the piece before in front of the computer screen. If you don't know what is going on, if you don't know how to ask the proper questions, and if you let's take a generative AI, let's Google Gemini, or ChatGPT, or DeepSeeker, or any others like Alibaba just announced a new one. It's coming out in those now. So our experience here in the team, and we have an AI research lab at the Skale Egenkapital, looking to that. Our experience is all about how you ingest and you train your model, let's say Gemini or ChatGPT. So that's the first thing you should do, to ingest properly with very rich and relevant training database, data sets, and information for the generative AI to learn. And you need to go through a crescendo. So when we hit the point that the data set was ready to be assessed, the tool was also ready to infer patterns. So if you ask it, can you plot to me a bar graph of the customer churn trends the next 12 months? The generative AI needs to understand what you're asking. You see what I mean? It needs to provide you a proper and decent and accurate answer. And if the answer is coming wrong, you need to fine-tuning it up to the point that the tool itself can detect it's not correct and fix itself. So the following step, when the pattern was able to be detected, the following step was to do in real time the interactions with this B2B customers. Whatever is that the customer would be interacting with the company, the AI would be listening and would be at the side of the key account manager. So the key account manager would be very educated and knowledgeable about what to do best, because the AI was providing critical and in almost real-time information about that customer. And again, it was measurable into that. In a few KPIs we adopted specifically into this case. It was the result was measurable and also very impressive. So, and if, as of course, we can see the AI evolving. They say that they will. Today, there is a challenge placed by the AI regulations in US and Europe, a set of very complicated problems. ChatGPT was able to solve 88% of it, and it was the best result. But they are foreseeing that by July this year, ChatGPT will be able to resolve perfectly 50% or more. So we can imagine that the AI will be coming more powerful, more capable, but I still believe that it's the future of this business is symbiotic, when human intelligence and artificial intelligence will interact, and because after all, the food of the AI is information, and we are the ones that provide information to it, right?
Yeah, that's the third epoch to the where it's ASI. You know, we are still at AGI, and if you say 50% or 8%, probably that's the stage where we are on this second epoch on the artificial intelligence. Yeah, good point. What I can share with you guys is so I'm a partner in a company called Invergent.ai that is it's owning an big data analytics and based on AI and ML platform. It's a standalone platform. It's not something that is using any of this open source. I mean, none of the Gen AI that are right now. Maybe in some instances, what we are doing both stages of the data, both data engineering, which means ingestion, cleansing, mining, storage, and using data lake for metadata. And then we do the other part of the data, which is, so I avoid to say AI, I'm calling the data evolution. Then the second part is the data science related to data, which means once the metadata is collected, we apply different ML libraries in order to treat the data based on what the customer needs are. And I won't make it long because probably people heard a lot of use cases, but this is a real use case with real results, with real customer implementation. We did an solution for a mobile operator, and that solution is treating the radio data, the MDT files, which are collected from the network. MDT files are the abbreviation is coming from minimized drive testing, and it's a TM forum defined, and 3GPP actually standard. And these files are actually designed to create a full picture of the data collected by the users, by the mobile users. So we are doing this analysis with these MDT files. The platform is called BigConnect, and we are using it to analyze what in practice today it's called drive testing. Yeah, so all the OPEX going to the drive testing on the road, we can do it directly from the office. So it's a product that we designed for the mobile operator that is having very good results. And I can share with you some movies, some trailers related to the product, and Anyway, detailed discussion. But yeah, so that's something that should I stop?
No, just quick question. Yeah, please share with us, with me, Johan. I'm very curious. I would really love to know more. And we are in Scandinavia. We have a few telecom companies over here that might be interested into that. We don't develop AI ourselves at Skale Egenkapital, but we do work with partners, and ecosystem is all about, So it would be really nice to know more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a standalone solution. It's something that can be licensed either on-prem or on cloud, and it's bringing huge savings for the run users, like the run engineers.
Very good.
Quite appreciated.
I can see easily how this could fit into one of the main concerns that the companies we've been speaking with, and our clients also, that they don't trust giving access to their trade secret information.
Yeah, I had that issue. And we did also a tool for anonymization. I liked when I saw Morgan talking about anonymization. I was smiling. I said, okay, so here we are. So we did that because they had the restrictions of the GDPR, and they said, well, we cannot do unless you are not installed it. And I said, the best is we anonymize. And I know you've been in telco many years, and I know why you have white hair, although you said it's not yours, but anyway. So the mobile operators, in the standard, it's got something called TIMSI, temporary IMSI, and these KPIs, these parameters actually are treated together with the rest of the data a lot long time advance, signal strength, RSSI, stuff like that, and the customers will stay hidden because by standard the customer is hidden with the temporary IMSI. The ciphering key, it's only into the further on in the OSS part, in the core, but in the run it's still an anonymous user. We masked everything related to the customer because we didn't need the name. We just wanted to do a drive test, and actually what is helping is doing it's the analysis of the data. It's doing both things that an ML do. I mean, ML is having like 4 things before the T0 description and diagnosis, and after T0, which to a T0 it's present time. It's description, it's prediction and prescription. So we do that. So we show to the operator what's the coverage in the respective area and what's the evolution based on the patterns from the past. Yeah, things that you just mentioned about predictions and how you can, when you spoke about churn, for example. Yeah, so good stuff is coming. Because we are sharing here experience and things that can help. Quite difficult to find good data scientists. Yeah, real data scientists. There's a big confusion. What is a data scientist? What is a data engineer? And stuff like that. There's a new effect I've seen in the market. I'm traveling a lot between Bucharest and London. Something that is happening is actually I've seen in the new generation, because we are, I see we are all seasoned guys. I think altogether we have around, for sure, over 150 years of experience. So that's saying something.
I don't know about you. I have 25 years.
I know. You're 35. Okay.
I paint my hair.
I can ask the lady next to you there to confirm.
I paint my beard gray and my hair gray just to give this.
I heard that. It's okay. I know you.
At 25.
But what I want to say is that it's a new something. It's extremely interesting, and I discovered it quite recently. there's a new wave into this, like the developers which are like PhD guys, right? You know what they do now? They are aggregators.
Yeah.
They are not writing really a code end to end. They are connecting, and they are using open source and are aggregating tools that are coming from different other players, other open source, and they actually, the art is to discover and use the best and quickly tools that answers to you.
Yeah.
Of course, if we talk about Gen AI, I think also Morgan touched that, it's about hallucination. And that's another story, and I think you've probably been there, and you know that. What's happening?
I think we should we must have you all guys in the coming talk mid-month February, because in there we block 2 hours and we really bring the opportunity to, you can share more and bring more interesting things like that. But I found, for instance, one colleague of mine in PhD course that is using hallucinations actually. What is at first glance an hallucination is actually keeping them quite busy. And about data scientists, for instance, my son is just finishing astronomy and planetary science at uni. And one of his main professors were saying that they lost most of their researchers in astronomy because of this lack of data science, and because astronomy is seriously related to machine learning, AI, big data. Throughout their course, they use this, and they have probably invented that actually. So most of the astronomers are now working as data scientists.
Yeah.
All right. I'm conscious of time, so I would like very much to send you all the invitation for the open talk coming. I think it is 13th February. Would be great to have you there, John. We could even open a block of time for you if you wish to talk a little bit more about your products, and it's exactly for that the open talk is made. So this slide here, I wanted to just wrap up and sell a little bit about our fish here at Skale Egenkapital. Let me show a little bit about the AI consultancy programs we have. It's a big umbrella, and we have quite a lot of programs around that for companies planning or in already deploying AI or into their businesses in many aspects of that. So we have the AI business readiness audit and KPI, usually the entrance point, following to the AI strategy and go-to-market strategies module. And after this module, we have the responsible AI program. Usually it comes in parallel, actually, because you need to keep this in mind from the day one. And then another consultancy program we have is using generative AI, off-the-shelf generative AI, and using innovation approach to deploy that across the company's departments. And also the scaling in digital related to AI. It's a specific model for companies already deploying AI. And AI security and governance, critical point to keep the AI trustworthy and accurate. And not only that, with complying with the very dynamic world of regulations that we have across the planet. So I would like to invite you, if you wanted, to just book a session with us with all privacy under NDA. If you wanted to discuss a bit more to see where these models could benefit you, we would, of course, be more than happy to support. All right. I think the next slide is just another way for us to be in contact, or you can reach out to us through this our email or website. Please pay us a visit over there. And there is an open knowledge sharing group on LinkedIn. Please grab your phone, scan this code as well, and easy to join. You can enjoy open or public domain data generated by our AI research lab and the Skale Egenkapital very rich insights and market insight reports. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. It's been a great session today or tonight. Very good to see you all, guys, especially you, Marcello and Ian. It's been long overdue, man. So I will make sure that you're gonna have an invitation, and I'll try to reach out to you one-to-one and off to see if you wanted to share a bit more in the coming talk session. All right. And thank you all. Great to
Thank
see you.
Thank you for the
See you
invitation.
next time.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
guys.
guys.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye
Good
bye.
night. All right. I'm going to stop recording now.
It's the music.